Water fasting, a journey into stillness and rest. Let's begin gently tonight. Softly. With something that connects us to countless generations before us. Something ancient. Something that has been part of the human experience since the very beginning. We're going to explore water fasting. And we'll do so slowly. Peacefully. Allowing each idea to settle like leaves falling onto calm water. People have used fasting for centuries for health, spiritual reflection, and social or political reasons. Centuries. Think about that for a moment. Not decades. Not just in recent times. But centuries. Thousands of years. Stretching back through recorded history and beyond, into the mists of time where memory fades and stories become legend. In ancient civilizations, fasting was woven into the fabric of life. The Greeks practiced it. Hippocrates, often called the father of medicine, recommended fasting as a way to allow the body to heal itself. He observed that when animals were sick, they would often stop eating naturally, instinctively knowing that rest from food would help them recover. And he suggested humans might benefit from the same wisdom. In ancient Egypt, fasting was part of spiritual purification rituals. Priests would abstain from food before entering sacred spaces, believing that the lightness and clarity that came from fasting prepared them to commune with the divine. They understood something profound about the relationship between emptiness and receptivity, between releasing and receiving. In the East, fasting has been practiced for millennia. Buddhist monks fast as part of their spiritual discipline. Hindu traditions include fasting on specific days, aligned with lunar cycles or dedicated to particular deities. These weren't just health practices. They were doorways. Ways of creating space. Of quieting the body so the mind could settle. So awareness could expand. So something deeper could be heard. And this wasn't limited to spiritual contexts. Throughout history, people have fasted for social and political reasons too. Hunger strikes, where individuals or groups refuse food to draw attention to injustice, to protest oppression, to stand for principle even at great personal cost. Mahatma Gandhi famously used fasting as a form of peaceful protest, demonstrating that the power of restraint, of voluntary limitation, could move nations and change history. So fasting is not new. Not a modern trend or a passing fad. It's woven into human history, into our spiritual traditions, into our healing practices, into our social movements. For centuries upon centuries, humans have understood that there is something profound about occasionally stepping back from food, about creating space, about allowing the body and mind to enter a different state, a quieter state. A state of rest and renewal. And as you lie here now, preparing for sleep, you're connected to this ancient lineage. To all the people throughout time who have discovered the power of voluntary simplicity. Of creating space. Of allowing less so that something deeper can emerge. You're part of this long, quiet tradition. And there's something comforting in that. Something grounding. You're not alone in exploring this practice. You're walking a path that countless others have walked before you. And in many cultures, fasting isn't just an occasional practice. It's woven into the rhythm of life itself. Some traditional cultures weave fasting into spiritual or seasonal rhythms as a time of quiet reflection rather than just health. Think about Ramadan, observed by Muslims worldwide. An entire month where fasting from dawn to sunset becomes a daily rhythm. Not just for health benefits, though those may come, but as a spiritual practice. A time of increased prayer and reflection, of gratitude for what you have, of empathy for those who go without, of community, as families and friends break their fast together each evening, sharing food and fellowship after a day of restraint. Or consider Yom Kippur in the Jewish tradition, the Day of Atonement. A complete fast from sunset to sunset. No food, no water. A day set apart for reflection, for examining one's actions over the past year, for seeking forgiveness, for reconciliation with others and with the divine. The physical fast becomes a container for spiritual work. The emptiness in the body creates space for fullness of meaning. Many indigenous cultures have fasting practices tied to seasonal rhythms. Spring fasting, aligned with the renewal of nature. Winter fasting, mirroring the dormancy of the land. These aren't arbitrary. They're connected to the cycles of the earth, the movements of the sun and moon, the natural rhythms that have governed life for millennia. The body fasting in harmony with nature's own cycles of abundance and scarcity, growth and rest. In these traditions, fasting is not primarily about weight loss or physical optimization. It's about something deeper, quieter. It's about creating space for reflection, for turning inward, for listening to what can only be heard in stillness. When the body is not occupied with digestion, when the constant cycle of eating and processing food pauses, something shifts. The mind quiets. Awareness deepens. There's room for contemplation, for prayer, for simply being present with what is. And this is beautiful. This understanding that fasting is not just a physical act but a holistic practice. One that touches body, mind, and spirit. One that creates space not just in the stomach but in consciousness itself. A time of quiet reflection. Of stepping back from the constant doing and consuming that fills most of our days. Of allowing stillness. Allowing emptiness. Allowing rest. So as you think about water fasting, remember this broader context. This isn't just about the physical effects, though we'll explore those. This is part of a rich human tradition. A practice that has been used for spiritual growth, for social change, for healing, for reflection. A practice that connects you to something larger than yourself. To centuries of human wisdom. To the quiet understanding that sometimes less is more. That emptiness can be full. That restraint can be freedom. Now, let's gently define what we mean when we talk about water fasting. Because the term can mean different things to different people. And clarity helps. Brings ease. Allows understanding to settle naturally. Water fasting usually means drinking only plain water for a set time, often 24 to 72 hours without close supervision. Water fasting. The name itself is simple, elegant. Water. The most basic, essential element for life. And fasting. The practice of abstaining from food. Put them together and you have a practice of remarkable simplicity. For a defined period of time, you consume nothing but water. No food. No juice. No broth. No supplements. Just water. Pure. Simple. Clean. The duration varies. Some people practice short fasts. 24 hours. One full day and night without food. This is accessible. Manageable for many people. You finish dinner one evening, drink only water through the next day, and break your fast at dinner the following evening. 24 hours. One complete cycle of day and night. One sunrise and sunset without eating. Others extend to 48 hours. 2 full days. This requires more preparation, more mental readiness. But for those who've done shorter fasts, 48 hours can feel like a natural progression. A deepening of the practice. More time for the body to shift into the fasted state. More opportunity for the deeper processes of rest and renewal to unfold. 72 hours. 3 days. This is a more significant undertaking. 3 sunrises without food. 3 nights. 3 complete cycles. At this duration, the body has fully transitioned into using stored energy. The initial hunger pangs have often subsided. There's a quality of clarity that many people report. A lightness. A sense of the body and mind functioning in a different mode. Quieter. More efficient. More spacious. These durations, 24, 48, 72 hours, are what most people can safely do without close supervision. Meaning without being monitored by medical professionals. They're short enough that healthy individuals can typically practice them safely while continuing their normal activities, though often at a gentler pace. They're manageable. Accessible. A way to experience fasting without the need for specialized facilities or constant medical oversight. But it's important to note, without close supervision doesn't mean without preparation or awareness. It means that generally healthy people can practice these shorter fasts on their own, while being mindful of their body's signals, while doing their research, while approaching the practice with respect and care. It doesn't mean carelessly jumping in. It means informed, conscious practice within a time frame that's been shown to be safe for most people. And what exactly happens during this time? What defines the practice? In a water fast, no solid food or calorie-containing drinks are taken. Focus is simply hydration. No solid food. This is obvious. This is what fasting means. But it's worth stating clearly. For the duration of the fast, you don't eat. No breakfast. No lunch. No dinner. No snacks. The constant rhythm of meals that normally structures your day pauses, stops, creates space. Hours pass without food entering your body. Your mouth tastes only water. Your stomach remains empty. Your digestive system rests. But it's not just solid food that's avoided. No calorie-containing drinks either. This distinguishes water fasting from other types of fasting. Some fasting protocols allow juice, vegetable broth, tea with honey. These provide some calories, some nutrients, while still giving the digestive system a lighter load. But in water fasting, even these are set aside. No juice. No broth. No milk. No smoothies. Nothing that contains calories. Nothing that would trigger digestion or provide energy from outside the body. Why such strictness? Because the point of water fasting is to allow the body to shift completely into a different metabolic state. When you consume calories, even just a few, the body continues to process external energy, continues to digest, continues in its normal fed state. But when you consume 0 calories, when nothing comes in but water, the body must shift, must turn to its own stores, must enter the fasted state fully. And this shift is where many of the benefits of fasting arise. So the focus becomes simple. Singular. Hydration. You drink water. That's it. Water becomes your only consumption. And there's a purity to this. A clarity. You're not thinking about what to eat, what to prepare, what tastes good. You're not counting calories or balancing macros or planning meals. Just water. When you're thirsty, drink. When you're not, don't. Simple. Clean. Direct. And even in how you drink, there's guidance. Most protocols emphasize small, regular sips of water rather than large amounts at once. Small sips. Regular sips. This might seem like a minor detail, but it matters. Because when you're water fasting, when your stomach is empty, drinking large amounts of water at once can be uncomfortable. Can create a sloshing feeling. Can make you feel overfull or nauseated. The empty stomach doesn't handle large volumes as well as a stomach with food in it. So the recommendation is gentle. Mindful. Sip. Don't gulp. Drink a little. Wait. Drink a little more. Throughout the day, maintain a pattern of small, regular intake. Keep a water bottle nearby. Take sips frequently. Not forcing large amounts. Not trying to drink a liter at once. Just steady. Gentle. Consistent. This approach keeps you well hydrated without overwhelming your system. It maintains a constant, comfortable level of fluid intake. It prevents the extreme swings between very thirsty and uncomfortably full. It's balanced. Moderate. Sustainable throughout the fasting period. And there's something meditative about this practice. About being mindful of each sip. About noticing when you're thirsty. About responding gently to your body's signals. In normal life, drinking is often unconscious. Automatic. You grab a glass and drink without thinking. But when water is all you're consuming, when it becomes your primary focus, drinking becomes conscious. Intentional. Almost ceremonial. Each sip is noticed. The coolness of the water. The sensation as it travels down your throat. The way it settles in your empty stomach. The slight relief it brings to thirst. You're present with the act of drinking in a way you normally aren't. And this presence, this mindfulness, it's part of the practice too. Part of the slowing down. The tuning in. The becoming aware of what usually happens automatically. So water fasting, in its essence, is remarkably simple. For a set period, maybe a day, maybe 2, maybe 3, you consume nothing but water. No food. No caloric drinks. Just water, taken in small, regular sips throughout the day. That's the practice. Simple in description, though not always simple in execution, but simple in its fundamental design. And this simplicity is part of the beauty. In a world of complex diet plans and elaborate nutritional protocols, water fasting is almost radically simple. You don't need special foods or expensive supplements. You don't need to calculate or measure or weigh. You just drink water. And don't eat. That's it. The practice distilled to its absolute essence. And in that simplicity, there's freedom. Freedom from decision fatigue about what to eat. Freedom from the constant planning and preparing and cleaning up after meals. Freedom from the mental energy that food usually takes. For the duration of the fast, all of that pauses. Stops. And there's just water. Just being. Just rest. Not everyone will choose to practice water fasting. And that's perfectly fine. But for those who do, for those who are drawn to this ancient practice, understanding what it is brings clarity, brings confidence, brings the ability to approach it consciously, deliberately, with respect for both the practice and your own body. You're not just randomly skipping meals. You're engaging in a practice with centuries of history. A practice done for health, for spiritual reflection, for social reasons. A practice that traditional cultures have woven into their rhythms. A practice that, in its modern form, means drinking only water for a set time. No food. No caloric drinks. Just small, regular sips of water. Simple. Ancient. Profound in its simplicity. And as you lie here now, as you drift towards sleep, you don't need to do anything with this information tonight. You don't need to plan or decide or commit. You can simply let it rest. Let it settle. Let these ideas about fasting, about water, about rest and renewal, simply be here with you. Like water itself. Present. Simple. Essential. And perhaps in your dreams tonight, you'll float. Like floating in water. Supported. Held. Nothing to do but rest. Nothing to consume. Nothing to process. Just floating. Just being. Just held in the gentle embrace of water. Of rest. Of sleep. Let yourself float now. Let yourself be held. Let yourself rest, in the ancient wisdom of simplicity, in the gentle practice of less, in the spacious emptiness that holds everything. Water. Simple. Essential. Life-giving. Rest now. Like water resting in a still pool. Like the body resting from food. Like consciousness resting from effort. Just rest. Just float. Just be held in the gentle simplicity of water and sleep. One early body changes, the first hours and days. Now let's settle a bit deeper. Into what happens inside. Into the quiet, remarkable processes that unfold when food stops coming in and the body must adapt. Adjust. Find new ways to sustain itself. And we'll explore this gently. With curiosity rather than anxiety. With wonder at how intelligently the body responds to change. Early hours often bring hunger waves that rise and fall naturally. Hunger. You know this feeling. It's familiar. Common. The signal from your body that it's time to eat. The emptiness in your stomach. The slight weakness. The mental pull toward food. During normal life, when hunger comes, you eat. Simple. Direct. Hunger appears, food follows, hunger disappears. But during a water fast, hunger appears, and you don't eat. You acknowledge it. You feel it. But you don't respond to it in the usual way. And something interesting happens. Something that surprises many people who've never fasted before. The hunger doesn't just build and build endlessly. It doesn't become unbearable and continue escalating. Instead, it comes in waves. Rising. Falling. Like waves on an ocean. Like the tide coming in and going out. A wave of hunger appears. Maybe mid-morning, when you'd normally have breakfast. Your stomach feels empty. Your body expects food. The hunger is there. Real. Present. But if you simply acknowledge it, drink some water, and wait, it passes. Not immediately. Not instantly. But gradually. Over perhaps 20 minutes, maybe 30, the urgency subsides. The intensity decreases. The wave recedes. And you find yourself on the other side of it, feeling relatively comfortable again. Stable. Okay. Then later, perhaps around lunchtime, another wave. This one might be stronger. Your body really expects food now. 2 missed meals. The pattern broken. The hunger wave rises. Peaks. And if you breathe through it, stay present with it, don't fight it but also don't feed it, it too subsides. Falls away. Leaves you in relative calm again. This pattern continues. Hunger waves appearing and disappearing. Often they're strongest around your normal meal times. Your body is conditioned. It expects food at certain hours. And when food doesn't come, it sends stronger signals. But even these signals are temporary. They rise. They fall. They don't remain at peak intensity constantly. And many people find that by the second day, the waves become gentler. Less frequent. Less intense. The body is adapting. Adjusting. Learning that food isn't coming and that it needs to find another way. And it does. The body is remarkably intelligent. Remarkably adaptable. And hunger, intense as it can feel in the moment, is not a linear, ever-increasing force. It's wave-like. Rhythmic. Coming and going. And this makes it manageable. Bearable. Something you can work with rather than something that overwhelms you. And while these hunger waves are happening on the surface of awareness, deeper processes are unfolding. Quiet metabolic shifts that you might not feel directly but that are profoundly changing how your body functions. The body shifts from recent meals to stored glycogen to stored fat over the first couple of days. Think about how your body normally gets energy. You eat. Food enters your system. It's broken down. Carbohydrates become glucose, which enters your bloodstream. This glucose is immediate fuel. Your cells use it right away for energy. Whatever glucose isn't immediately needed gets stored. Some goes into your muscles as glycogen. Some goes into your liver as glycogen. These are short-term energy stores. Easily accessible. Quick to deploy. When you're eating regularly, your body constantly cycles through this pattern. Meal comes in. Glucose rises. Some is used immediately. Some is stored. Between meals, when glucose from food runs low, the body taps into glycogen stores. Converts them back to glucose. Maintains stable blood sugar. Then another meal comes. The cycle continues. But when you stop eating, when no new food comes in, the body must rely entirely on stored energy. For the first several hours of a fast, it uses the glucose still circulating in your bloodstream from your last meal. This is relatively short-lived. Within a few hours, that's depleted. Then the body turns to glycogen. Breaks down the stored carbohydrates in your liver and muscles. Converts them back to glucose. This can sustain you for perhaps 12 to 24 hours, depending on how much glycogen you had stored. But glycogen stores are limited. Finite. And once they're depleted, the body must shift again, must find another source of fuel. And this is where fat comes in. Fat is your body's long-term energy storage. Unlike glycogen, which is measured in hundreds of grams, fat is measured in kilograms for most people. It's abundant, plentiful, designed to sustain you through extended periods without food. This is its evolutionary purpose. Fat exists so that when food is scarce, you don't immediately perish. You have reserves, backup fuel. So over the first couple of days of a water fast, this shift happens. From recent meals, the glucose in your blood, to stored glycogen, the short-term reserves in liver and muscle, to stored fat, the long-term energy that can sustain you for much, much longer. It's a beautiful, intelligent progression. A cascade of backup systems, each one stepping in as the previous one depletes, ensuring that even without external food, your body has what it needs to continue functioning. And this shift is coordinated by hormones, by chemical messengers that tell your body what state it's in and how it should respond. Insulin levels tend to fall, signaling the body to release stored energy. Insulin. You've probably heard of it. It's the hormone released by your pancreas when glucose levels rise in your blood. Its job is to help cells absorb that glucose, to move sugar from the bloodstream into cells where it can be used for energy. It's the hormone of the fed state, the hormone of abundance. When insulin is high, your body is in storage mode, taking in energy, storing what's not immediately needed. But when you fast, when no food comes in, when glucose levels in your blood remain low, insulin levels fall, drop significantly. And this falling insulin is a signal, a message to your body. It says, we're not in fed state anymore. We're in fasted state. Stop storing. Start releasing. Low insulin allows stored energy to become accessible. When insulin is high, fat cells hold onto their fat tightly. But when insulin falls, fat cells get the signal to release, to break down stored triglycerides into fatty acids that can enter the bloodstream and be used for fuel. Low insulin also signals the liver to start breaking down glycogen, to release glucose into the blood to maintain stable levels even without incoming food. This hormonal shift is fundamental, essential. Without falling insulin, the transition from fed to fasted state wouldn't happen smoothly. You'd remain in storage mode even while needing to access stored energy. But your body knows what to do. When food stops coming in, insulin drops, and the entire metabolic machinery shifts. From storing to releasing, from building up to breaking down, from fed to fasted. And as this shift completes, as fat becomes your primary fuel source, something else happens. Something that marks a significant metabolic transition. The body begins producing ketones from fat as an alternative brain fuel. Ketones. These are small molecules produced by your liver when it breaks down fatty acids. They're a byproduct of fat metabolism. And they have a special property: they can cross the blood-brain barrier and be used by your brain for energy. This is important, crucial even, because your brain normally runs on glucose exclusively. It's a glucose-hungry organ. Uses about 20% of your total energy despite being only about 2% of your body weight. And the brain can't use fatty acids directly. They're too large. They can't cross the blood-brain barrier. So if your body switched entirely to burning fat without producing ketones, your brain would have a problem. It would run out of fuel. This would be bad, unsustainable, dangerous. But evolution has solved this problem. When you fast, when fat becomes your primary fuel, your liver doesn't just break fat down for your muscles and organs to use. It converts some of that fat into ketones, into these smaller molecules that can feed your brain, that can provide the energy your brain needs to continue functioning even when glucose from food isn't available. This is elegant, sophisticated, a backup fuel system for your most critical organ. And ketones aren't just adequate fuel. Many people report that once their brain adapts to running on ketones, once the transition is complete, they experience remarkable mental clarity, focus, sustained energy without the ups and downs that come from glucose spikes and crashes. Ketones provide steady, consistent fuel, and the brain seems to run well on them. So during a water fast, typically after about 24 to 48 hours, your body enters ketosis, a state where ketones are being produced and used as a significant fuel source, particularly for the brain. You might not feel this transition directly. Some people notice increased energy or mental clarity. Some notice a slightly different taste in their mouth or a change in breath odor. Ketones have a distinctive smell. But whether you notice it or not, it's happening. Your metabolism has shifted. You're running on internal fuel, on stored fat converted to ketones. And your body is sustaining itself perfectly well without external food coming in. These are the early changes, the first hours and days. Hunger waves that rise and fall. The shift from recent meals to glycogen to fat. Falling insulin levels signaling the release of stored energy, and the production of ketones to fuel your brain. All of this happening naturally, automatically. Your body knows how to do this, has known for millions of years of evolution. You don't have to think about it or manage it. You just have to not eat, drink water, and let your body do what it's designed to do. And as you settle into sleep now, you can trust this intelligence, this wisdom that your body carries. Even as you sleep, your body is managing complex processes, maintaining temperature, regulating breath, healing and restoring, all without your conscious direction. Your body knows what to do. And in fasting, as in sleep, you can trust that, can let go, can allow the deeper intelligence to take care of what needs taking care of. Rest now. Let these processes unfold in their own time. Let hunger waves rise and fall like breath. Let your body shift from one fuel source to another. Let insulin fall and ketones rise. All happening. All being taken care of. All unfolding naturally in the quiet wisdom of your body. Sleep, like fasting, is a time of rest, of releasing, of allowing. So allow now. Allow sleep. Allow rest. Allow the gentle, intelligent processes of life to continue, quietly, peacefully, while you rest. Let's go deeper now, into the more hidden processes, the cellular level changes that happen during fasting, the metabolic adjustments that are harder to feel directly but are profoundly significant. We'll explore these gently, with appreciation for the complexity, the intelligence, the careful balancing that your body performs. Fasting may stimulate autophagy, where old or damaged cells are recycled. Autophagy. The word comes from Greek. Auto meaning self. Phagy meaning eating. Self-eating. It sounds dramatic. Perhaps even disturbing. But it's actually a beautiful, essential process of cellular renewal and maintenance. Your cells accumulate damage over time. Proteins fold incorrectly. Organelles, the tiny structures inside cells that perform specific functions, wear out or malfunction. Cellular debris builds up. In normal circumstances, when nutrients are abundant, when you're eating regularly, cells tend to just keep building. Keep making new proteins. Keep adding new organelles. The old, damaged stuff stays around, cluttering the cell, creating inefficiency, potentially causing problems. But when you fast, when nutrients stop coming in, when cells must conserve and optimize, a different program activates. Autophagy. The cell begins to clean house. It identifies damaged proteins, worn-out organelles, accumulated debris. It packages them up, breaks them down, recycles their components, uses the amino acids from degraded proteins to build new, functional proteins, uses the raw materials from old organelles to create new ones. This is spring cleaning at the cellular level. A deep, thorough purge of what's no longer serving. What's broken? What's damaged? And research suggests that fasting is one of the most powerful triggers for autophagy. When external nutrients are scarce, cells become very efficient, very selective. They can't afford to keep malfunctioning parts around. Can't afford the inefficiency of damaged proteins. So they clean up, recycle, optimize. And this may have profound implications for health. For longevity. Because accumulated cellular damage is thought to contribute to aging, to disease, to the gradual decline in function that comes with time. But if fasting regularly triggers autophagy, if it allows cells to clear out damage and renew themselves, this might be one mechanism by which fasting supports long-term health. Allows cells to remain more youthful, more functional, more resilient. This doesn't happen instantly. Autophagy typically ramps up significantly after about 24 hours of fasting. And it continues to increase the longer the fast goes on. So those practicing longer fasts, 48, 72 hours, may be giving their cells more time in this cleanup mode. More opportunity for renewal. For clearing out the old and making room for the new. It's worth noting that autophagy is a normal process. It happens all the time at a baseline level. But fasting amplifies it, enhances it, gives cells both the motivation and the resources to really deep clean. And this is one of the reasons some researchers are so interested in fasting as a health intervention. Because this cellular renewal, this recycling of damaged components, it's fundamental to maintaining health at the deepest level. But fasting doesn't just affect cells. It affects your entire metabolic system. And not all changes are about optimization. Some are about conservation. Thyroid activity and some metabolic processes may slow to conserve energy. Your thyroid gland, located in your neck, produces hormones that regulate your metabolic rate, that control how fast or slow your metabolism runs. When thyroid hormones are high, your metabolism is fast. You burn energy quickly. Your heart rate is higher. Your body temperature is higher. Everything is running at a faster pace. When you fast, especially during longer fasts, thyroid hormone production can decrease. The body senses that no external energy is coming in, that it needs to rely on limited stores. And in response, it becomes conservative, cautious. It slows metabolic rate to make stored energy last longer. This is intelligent. Strategic. If you only have a finite amount of fuel, you want to use it efficiently. You don't want to burn through it quickly. You want to extend it. Make it last. So the thyroid gently downregulates, produces slightly less hormone, and the entire metabolism slows a bit. This means you might feel a bit cooler. Your hands and feet might get cold more easily during a fast. Your heart rate might be slightly lower. You might feel a bit more lethargic, particularly if you're trying to maintain high levels of activity. Your body is saying, slow down. Conserve. Don't waste energy. This is generally not harmful during short fasts. 24 to 72 hours of slightly slower metabolism won't cause problems for most people. It's a natural, adaptive response. And it reverses when you start eating again. Thyroid function returns to normal. Metabolism speeds back up. It's temporary. Flexible. Part of the body's remarkable ability to adjust to changing conditions. But it's important to know about this. Because if you're fasting and you notice feeling colder than usual or a bit more tired, this might be why. Your body is conserving. And that's okay. That's normal. You can dress warmer. Rest more. Honor what your body is doing. It's not a malfunction. It's an intelligent adaptation. And while the body is generally very good at preserving what's essential during fasting, there are limits. Longer fasts can break down muscle as well as fat. This is worth understanding. Worth approaching with clear eyes and realistic expectations. When you fast, your body needs protein. Not for energy primarily, fat is the main fuel source during fasting. But for maintaining essential functions. For creating enzymes. For immune system function. For cellular repair. Protein is constantly being used and needs to be replaced. And during fasting, when no dietary protein is coming in, where does the body get it? From its own tissues. The body has two main stores of protein, muscle and organs. Organs are protected. The body won't break down your heart or liver or kidneys for protein except in extreme, life-threatening starvation. But muscle? Muscle is considered expendable to a degree. During longer fasts, the body will break down some muscle tissue to get the amino acids it needs. This is called muscle catabolism or muscle wasting. For short fasts, 24, even 48 hours, muscle breakdown is minimal. Almost negligible. The body is still adapting. Still running primarily on glycogen and then transitioning to fat. Protein needs are being met mostly from recycling damaged proteins through autophagy. But as fasts extend beyond about 3 days, muscle breakdown can become more significant. The body needs ongoing amino acids and begins taking them from muscle mass. This doesn't mean fasting inevitably causes muscle loss. Exercise, particularly resistance training, provides a strong signal to preserve muscle. Adequate protein intake before and after a fast helps. And for most people doing short, occasional fasts, muscle loss is not a major concern. But for longer fasts, or for people doing extended or frequent fasting without proper nutrition between fasts, muscle loss can occur. This is a real consideration. A real limitation of fasting as a long-term practice without careful management. So it's important to be realistic. Fasting has benefits. But it also has costs. And muscle mass is valuable. Important for strength, for mobility, for metabolic health. Losing too much isn't desirable. So if you're interested in fasting, especially longer fasts, it's wise to combine it with strength training. To eat adequate protein when you're not fasting. To give your body the raw materials and the stimulus it needs to maintain muscle even while occasionally going without food. And related to muscle breakdown is another metabolic reality. Metabolism may slow as the body tries to conserve fuel. We touched on this with thyroid function, but it's worth emphasizing. The longer you fast, the more your body downregulates metabolism to preserve energy stores. This is called adaptive thermogenesis. Your body adapts to reduced energy intake by reducing energy expenditure. It doesn't just slow thyroid function. It reduces spontaneous movement. You might find yourself naturally moving less, fidgeting less, being less active overall without consciously deciding to. It reduces heat production. You feel colder because your body is generating less warmth to conserve calories. It may even slightly reduce heart rate and other autonomic functions to save energy. All of this is about making your fuel last. About surviving a period of scarcity. And in evolutionary terms, this made perfect sense. If food was scarce, those who could slow their metabolism and make their stores last longest were more likely to survive until food became available again. So we evolved this capacity, this flexibility, this ability to downregulate when necessary. But in the context of modern fasting, this can be a double-edged sword. On one hand, it's evidence of the body's intelligence, its adaptability. On the other hand, if someone is fasting hoping to increase calorie burn, this metabolic slowing works against that goal. The body burns fewer calories, not more, during extended fasting. It becomes more efficient. And while efficiency is good for survival, it's not ideal if your goal is fat loss through increased calorie expenditure. This is why intermittent fasting, shorter fasting windows alternated with regular eating, may be preferable to very long fasts for many people. Shorter fasts don't trigger as much metabolic adaptation. The body doesn't slow down as much because it knows food is coming back soon. There's less of that conservation response. But longer fasts, especially repeated long fasts without adequate refeeding between them, can result in significant metabolic slowing. And recovering from that, getting your metabolism back to normal, can take time. So these are the deeper processes. Autophagy, cleaning up damaged cellular components. Thyroid activity slowing to conserve energy. Muscle being broken down for essential amino acids during longer fasts. Metabolism gradually slowing as the body adapts to reduced fuel intake. All of this happening beneath conscious awareness. All of it part of the complex, intelligent way your body responds to fasting. None of this is inherently good or bad. It's just what is. What happens? The body adapting, adjusting, doing its best to maintain function with the resources available. And understanding these processes helps you fast more intelligently, more safely, with realistic expectations. You know what's happening and why. You can make informed decisions. Can appreciate both the benefits and the limitations. Can approach fasting with wisdom rather than naive enthusiasm or unwarranted fear. And as you rest now, as you drift deeper into sleep, you can let all of this complexity go. You don't need to manage these processes. Don't need to consciously direct autophagy or regulate your thyroid or prevent muscle breakdown. Your body handles all of it. Automatically. Intelligently. whether you're eating or fasting or sleeping. The deeper wisdom of your physiology is always at work, always balancing, always adapting, always doing its best to keep you alive and functioning. Trust that. Trust the intelligence. Trust that your body knows how to fast just as it knows how to sleep, just as it knows how to heal. It's all built in, all part of the design. And you can simply rest, can let go, can allow these processes to unfold naturally while you drift peacefully into the deep, quiet, restful embrace of sleep. Now let's turn our attention inward, away from the mechanical processes, away from the biochemistry and cellular mechanisms, and into the felt experience, the subjective reality of what fasting feels like. Because this is what you actually experience, not the rising ketones or the falling insulin, but the quality of consciousness, the texture of awareness, the way your inner world shifts and changes. Some people feel light mental clarity or mild euphoria. This is one of the more commonly reported experiences during fasting, particularly once the body has fully transitioned into ketosis. After perhaps the second day, after the initial adaptation period, something shifts in consciousness, becomes lighter, clearer, more spacious. Mental clarity. It's hard to describe precisely because it's subjective, experiential. But people often report thoughts becoming sharper, more focused, less cluttered by the usual mental fog. It's as if the mind has been running on a slightly cloudy fuel and suddenly switches to something cleaner, more refined. And the difference is noticeable. Thinking becomes easier, more effortless. Ideas connect more readily. Concentration comes more naturally. This might be related to ketones, the brain running on this alternative fuel that burns cleanly, efficiently, without the glucose spikes and crashes that can create energy fluctuations in consciousness. Ketones provide steady fuel, constant energy. And the brain seems to appreciate this, seems to function with a particular smoothness when running primarily on ketones. Or it might be related to reduced digestive burden. Digestion takes enormous energy, more than most people realize. Your gut is constantly working when you're eating regularly, processing food, absorbing nutrients, managing the complex ecosystem of bacteria, producing enzymes and bile and mucus. All of this requires blood flow, requires oxygen, requires the attention of your nervous system. And when digestion stops, when the gut rests, all that energy becomes available for other things, including brain function, mental processing. Or perhaps it's simply that without the distraction of food, thinking about meals, preparing them, eating them, cleaning up, the mind has more space, more bandwidth, less occupied with the constant rhythm of feeding and more available for other forms of awareness, for thinking, for creativity, for presence. Whatever the mechanism, many people experience this clarity, this lightness of mind. And some even report mild euphoria. Not intense happiness, not mania, but a gentle elevation of mood, a subtle sense of well-being, of contentment, of things being fundamentally okay. This might be endorphins, natural opioids produced by the body that can create mild euphoric feelings. Or it might be the satisfaction of accomplishing something challenging. The self-esteem boost from exercising discipline. From doing what you set out to do. But it's important to emphasize, some people feel this clarity and euphoria. Not everyone. Not even most people necessarily. Because responses to fasting vary widely. And this brings us to the other side of the experience. Others feel tired or irritable, responses vary widely. Tired. This makes sense. Your body is running on stored energy. It's conserving. Slowing metabolism. Reducing output. Of course you might feel tired. Especially in the first day or two before full adaptation to ketosis. Before the body has learned to efficiently access and use stored fat. In that transition period, energy can feel low. Sluggish. Like you're running on fumes. Which, in a sense, you are. You're between fuel sources. Not quite running on food anymore, but not yet fully running on stored fat. And irritability. Hunger can make people irritable. This is well known. We even have a word for it, hangry. Hungry and angry. When blood sugar is unstable, when you're used to eating regularly and suddenly you're not, mood can suffer. You might feel short-tempered. Impatient. Easily frustrated. Things that normally wouldn't bother you suddenly feel annoying. Your tolerance for stress is lower. Your patience thinner. This isn't universal. Some people sail through fasts without irritability. But for others, especially in the early stages, mood can definitely decline. This is honest. Real. A valid experience. And it's worth knowing about, so if it happens to you, you don't think something is wrong. It's normal. It's part of the adaptation. And for most people, if they continue the fast, the irritability subsides after the first day or so. As the body adapts. As blood sugar stabilizes at a lower level. As ketones rise and provide steady fuel. But the point is, responses vary widely. Enormously. One person's mental clarity is another person's mental fog. One person's euphoria is another person's irritability. There's no single fasting experience. No universal response. Your body is unique. Your metabolism is individual. Your reaction to fasting will be your own. And that's okay. That's normal. There's no right way to feel during a fast. Just your way. And for some, fasting affects stress in interesting ways. Perceived stress may reduce for some individuals. This is counterintuitive. You'd think not eating would be stressful. And physically, it is a stressor. The body is experiencing scarcity. It's having to adapt. But psychologically? For some people, fasting actually feels stress-reducing. Calming. Simplifying. Part of this might be the removal of food decisions. No thinking about what to eat. No meal planning. No preparation. No cleanup. For people who find these daily tasks stressful, and many people do, even if they don't consciously recognize it, removing them can create a sense of relief. Of lightness. Of mental space opening up. Part of it might be the sense of control. Of agency. Of choosing to do something challenging and following through. This can feel empowering. Can boost self-efficacy. Can create a sense of mastery that reduces stress in other areas of life. If I can do this, What else can I do? If I can exercise this much discipline, this much control over my impulses, perhaps other challenges are manageable too. And part of it might be physiological. Fasting affects cortisol, the stress hormone. Effects are complex and vary, but some people experience a reduction in perceived stress. A sense of calm, of centeredness, of being more present and less reactive to external stressors. But again, this is some people. Others find fasting stressful. The hunger, the discomfort, the social awkwardness of not eating when others are, the fear of doing something wrong or harmful. All of this can increase stress. So it's individual, personal. Your experience is yours. And whatever you feel during a fast, calm or stressed, clear or foggy, euphoric or irritable, it's valid. It's your truth. And sensory experiences can shift in fascinating ways. Sense of taste and smell can feel more vivid afterward. Not during the fast necessarily, but afterward. When you break the fast. When food enters your system again after days of nothing. That first meal after a fast. For many people, it's extraordinary. Tastes seem more intense, more complex, more alive. A simple piece of fruit tastes incredibly sweet, bursting with flavor. Vegetables have depth and character you never noticed before. Even plain foods, rice, potatoes, seem richer, more satisfying, more real. This might be because your taste buds have reset. During normal eating, you're constantly exposed to flavors. Strong flavors. Salt, sugar, spices, processed foods with intense, concentrated tastes. Your palate adapts, becomes accustomed, needs stronger stimulation to register flavor. But after several days without any food, without any taste stimulation, your sensitivity resets, returns to baseline, and suddenly subtle flavors are noticeable again. Food tastes the way it perhaps was meant to taste. Before habituation dulled your sensitivity. Same with smell. Olfactory sensitivity can increase. That first coffee after a fast can smell almost overwhelming. Rich, deep, complex. You notice notes you never did before. Food smells become vivid, enticing. Your nose seems more acute, more discriminating, more alive to the complexity of sense. This heightened sensory experience usually fades as you return to regular eating. Your senses readapt, habituate again. But in those first hours or days after breaking a fast, the world of taste and smell can feel remarkably vivid, remarkably present, remarkably beautiful. And time itself can feel different. Sense of time may feel slower and more inward-focused. Without the rhythm of meals structuring your day, time can lose its usual markers, its usual pace. Normally, meals divide the day into segments. Morning until breakfast, breakfast until lunch, lunch until dinner, evening after dinner. Each meal a milestone, a punctuation mark in the flow of time. But during a fast, these markers disappear. The day becomes continuous, undivided. Hours flow into each other without the usual breaks. And this can make time feel slower, longer, more spacious. A day of fasting can feel like it contains more time than a normal day. Not because it's objectively longer, but because the subjective experience is different. Less structured, more open, and attention turns inward. Without external eating to engage with, awareness naturally becomes more internal. You notice your body more, your thoughts more, your emotions more. The constant outward focus on food and eating and social interaction around meals pauses. And in that pause, attention can turn inward, can observe, can notice, can become more contemplative, more reflective, more meditative. For some people, this inward focus is peaceful, restorative, a welcome break from constant outward engagement. For others, it's uncomfortable. Too much time with your own thoughts. Too much awareness of discomfort or boredom or whatever arises when usual distractions are removed. But either way, it's there. This shift from outward to inward, from externally paced to internally experienced, from doing to being. And with this inward focus can come intensity. Emotional states may feel more intense. Emotions don't disappear during fasting. If anything, they can become more prominent, more vivid, more present. Without food to buffer them, and many people use food as emotional regulation, eating when stressed or sad or bored, emotions arise more directly, more rawly. Sadness might feel deeper, more profound, more touching. Anxiety might feel sharper, more immediate, more challenging. Joy might feel purer, more clear, more uplifting. Whatever emotions are present, they're felt more directly, less mediated by the constant input of food and the metabolic states it creates. This intensity isn't comfortable for everyone. Some people discover they eat to avoid feeling, to buffer emotions, to create distance from what's difficult. And when that buffer is removed, when emotions arise without the usual coping mechanism, it can feel overwhelming. This is valuable information, useful self-knowledge. But it's not always pleasant in the moment. Others find the emotional intensity clarifying, purifying, like emotions are finally being felt fully instead of being muffled or avoided. And in that full feeling, there's release, resolution, completion. Emotions arise, are felt completely, and then pass. Without the usual suppression or avoidance, they can move through more cleanly. So fasting can be an emotional experience. Not just physical, not just mental, but emotional. And this is worth knowing, worth preparing for, worth approaching with gentleness and self-compassion. Whatever emotions arise during a fast are okay, are welcome, are part of the experience. You don't have to fix them or change them or make them different. You can just feel them. Let them be. Let them move through. And trust that, like everything else during a fast, they're temporary, passing, part of the wave-like rhythm of experience. And as you lie here now, preparing for sleep, you can let all these varied experiences rest. You don't have to have any particular experience during a fast if you choose to do one. You don't have to feel clarity or euphoria. You don't have to feel tired or irritable. You don't have to have your stress reduce or your senses heighten or your time slow down. You can simply have whatever experience you have. And it will be exactly right for you. Exactly what you need. exactly your path. So rest now. In the variety. In the individuality. In the knowledge that there's no single right way to experience fasting. Just your way. Just what arises. Just the unique unfolding of your particular body, mind, and spirit. And that's enough. That's perfect. That's beautiful. Sleep now. And let all experiences, clarity and fog, euphoria and irritability, calm and stress, simply be. Simply arise and pass. Simply move through the vast, accepting space of awareness. Like waves on an ocean. Like clouds in a sky. Coming. Going. Never staying. Never permanent. Just passing. Just flowing. Just being what they are. Rest. In the flow. In the change. In the constant movement of experience. And sleep, deeply, peacefully, held by the changeless awareness that witnesses all. Let's continue with the felt, experiential dimension of fasting. The physical sensations. The bodily changes that you notice directly. The way energy and rest and temperature all shift during this time of voluntary scarcity. And we'll explore these gently. With curiosity. With acceptance for the full range of what can arise. Feelings of coldness are common as heat production lowers. Cold. This is one of the most consistent experiences people report during fasting. Hands and feet getting cold. Feeling chilly even in a normally comfortable room. Needing extra layers. Extra blankets. Feeling like you just can't quite get warm. This makes physiological sense. As we discussed, your body lowers metabolic rate during fasting to conserve energy. Part of this conservation involves reducing heat production. Heat is a byproduct of metabolism. When cells burn fuel, whether glucose or fat, they produce energy for cellular functions and heat as a waste product. This heat keeps your body temperature stable. Keeps you warm. But producing heat requires fuel. And during fasting, fuel is precious. Limited. So the body turns down the thermostat. Produces less heat. Conserves more energy. And you feel this as coldness. It's not that you're becoming hypothermic. Your core temperature remains safe, within normal range. But the peripheral temperature, your skin, your extremities, can drop noticeably. This is normal. Expected. Not dangerous for most people during short fasts. But it's uncomfortable. Especially if you're not prepared for it. If you're used to feeling comfortably warm and suddenly you're cold all the time, it can be disconcerting. Unpleasant. A constant reminder that something's different. That your body is in a different state. The solution is simple: dress warmer. Wear layers. Thick socks. A warm sweater. Use blankets. Don't try to tough it out or ignore the cold. Honor what your body needs. Give it external warmth since it's producing less internal warmth. Drink warm water or herbal tea. Take warm baths. Create a warm environment. This isn't weakness. This is responding intelligently to your body's conservation mode. And sleep can change too. Sometimes dramatically. Sleep can become lighter or fragmented in early days. For some people, fasting disrupts sleep, at least initially. They wake more frequently during the night. Have trouble falling asleep. or wake very early and can't get back to sleep. Sleep feels less deep, less restorative, more fractured. This might be related to blood sugar fluctuations. If your body isn't yet fully adapted to burning fat, if it's still struggling with the transition, blood sugar can drop during the night. And low blood sugar can trigger arousal, can wake you up. It's a protective mechanism. The body sensing potential danger and low fuel availability and pulling you out of deep sleep to be alert. Or it might be cortisol. Fasting can affect cortisol rhythms. And cortisol helps regulate sleep-wake cycles. Changes in cortisol patterns can lead to disrupted sleep, waking at odd hours, difficulty maintaining sleep through the night. Or it might be simply hunger. Stomach empty. Body used to eating before bed. The absence of that routine, that comfort, that fullness, can make settling into deep sleep harder. You're aware of the emptiness, the hunger, and it keeps part of your consciousness online, monitoring, not quite able to fully let go into deep sleep. For people experiencing sleep disruption during fasting, it can be challenging, frustrating. Sleep is precious, essential, and losing sleep can undermine the benefits you might be seeking from the fast. It can make you more tired, more irritable, less able to function during the day. So if your sleep suffers significantly during fasting, this is important feedback. This might mean fasting isn't right for you, at least not in its current form. Or it might mean you need to adjust, perhaps shorter fasts, or different timing, or more preparation. But here's the other side. Others report deeper, more efficient sleep. For these people, fasting improves sleep rather than disrupting it. They fall asleep more easily, sleep more soundly, wake feeling more rested. Sleep feels cleaner, more restorative, more efficient. This might be because digestion isn't interfering. Normally, if you eat close to bedtime, your digestive system is working during the early part of your sleep, processing food. This requires energy, requires blood flow to the gut, can create warmth and metabolic activity that's somewhat at odds with the deep rest of sleep. But when you're fasting, when the digestive system is quiet, nothing is interfering with sleep. The body can fully dedicate itself to sleep's restorative functions without divided attention. Or it might be that these individuals are naturally more suited to fasting. Their bodies adapt more easily. Their metabolic flexibility is greater. They transition to fat burning smoothly and maintain stable blood sugar through the night. So sleep isn't disrupted, is perhaps even enhanced by the metabolic clarity of the fasted state. So once again, we see variability. Some people sleep worse during fasting. Others sleep better. Your experience is your experience, and it's worth paying attention to. Sleep quality is an important indicator. If fasting helps your sleep, that's a sign it might be beneficial for you. If it harms your sleep, that's a sign to be cautious, to adjust, to prioritize sleep over fasting if necessary. And during waking hours, energy levels guide activity. Gentle activities like stretching or slow walking are often recommended instead of heavy exercise. When you're fasting, when your body is conserving energy, when metabolic rate is lower, when you might be feeling tired or cold or just different, intense exercise usually doesn't feel good, doesn't work well. Your body doesn't have the same fuel availability for high-intensity work. glycogen stores are depleted. Fat burning provides steady energy but not the quick bursts needed for sprinting or heavy lifting. If you try to push hard during a fast, you might feel weak, lightheaded, unable to perform at your usual level. And you might be breaking down more muscle than you would if you were fed, because the body needs those amino acids and will take them from muscle if you're demanding performance without providing fuel. So the general recommendation during fasting is gentle movement. Stretching feels good, maintains flexibility, keeps blood flowing, helps with any stiffness that might come from being less active. Yoga can be appropriate. Gentle, restorative yoga. Not vigorous flow or intense holds, but soft, easy movement that honors where your body is. Walking is excellent. Slow walking. Not power walking or hiking steep hills. Just gentle ambulatory movement. Getting outside. Moving through space. This helps with energy, with mood, with digestion, or the lack thereof. It's movement without depletion. Activity without stress. Enough to keep the body engaged without overtaxing limited resources. Swimming can work if you stay warm. The buoyancy is gentle on joints. The movement is flowing and easy. But you have to be careful about temperature. Remember, you're producing less heat. A cool pool might leave you feeling very cold. So warm water is better if you're going to swim during a fast. What you want to avoid is high-intensity interval training, heavy weightlifting, long-distance running, or anything that demands significant energy output or puts major stress on the body. Save that for when you're eating normally. When you have full fuel tanks. During a fast, honor the conservation mode your body is in. Move gently. Respect the limitation. This isn't weakness. This is wisdom. And while you're resting from food, giving one of your hardest working systems a break, the digestive system gets a period of relative rest. Your digestive system is incredibly active during normal life. Constantly working. The stomach producing acid. The pancreas producing enzymes. The liver producing bile. The intestines moving food along, absorbing nutrients, managing the massive bacterial population in your gut. Peristalsis, the wave-like muscle contractions that move food through your system, constantly happening. Blood flow to the gut constantly elevated to support all this work. It's exhausting. Your digestive system uses enormous energy. And it never fully rests when you're eating regularly. There's always something to process. Always food moving through. Always work to do. But during a fast, this stops. The stomach is empty. No acid needed. The pancreas can rest. No enzymes required. The liver still works, it's producing ketones, managing blood sugar, performing countless other functions, but it's not processing incoming nutrients from food. The intestines are quiet. Peristalsis slows dramatically. Blood flow to the gut decreases and is redirected to other areas. The entire digestive system rests. And for some people, this rest is profoundly beneficial. If you have digestive issues, bloating, gas, discomfort, inflammation, giving your gut a complete break can allow healing. Can reduce inflammation. Can let the lining of the intestines repair. Can allow the microbial population to rebalance. This is one of the reasons some people with digestive issues report feeling better during and after fasting. The rest allows recovery. Allows the system to reset. And when eating resumes, if done carefully and thoughtfully, digestion can work better than it did before. More efficiently. More comfortably. Of course, this isn't universal. Some people with digestive issues find fasting makes things worse. The empty stomach might increase acid production in some individuals, leading to discomfort. The absence of food to buffer acid can create problems. So again, individual response varies. But for those who do well with it, the digestive rest of fasting can be deeply therapeutic, deeply restorative. And as you prepare for your own rest tonight, as you transition from waking to sleeping, you can appreciate how your body knows how to rest, knows how to slow down, knows how to conserve. Whether it's the overnight fast that happens naturally every night when you sleep and don't eat, or a deliberate extended fast, or simply the transition into sleep itself, your body understands rest, understands conservation, understands how to shift from active to restorative mode. Trust that. Trust the wisdom. Trust that your body will take care of what needs taking care of. Will produce less heat to conserve energy, and you can respond by staying warm. Will adjust sleep patterns, and you can honor whatever arises. Will guide you toward gentle movement and away from intense exertion. Will rest the digestive system and use that saved energy for other forms of healing and restoration. All of this happens naturally, automatically. You don't have to manage it or control it or direct it. You just have to allow it. Like allowing sleep to come now. Not forcing it. Not trying to make it happen. Just allowing. Creating the conditions. Lying down. Closing your eyes. Breathing softly. And letting the natural process of sleep unfold in its own time. In its own way. Rest now. Like your digestive system rests during a fast. Like your metabolism slows to conserve. Like heat production lowers to extend fuel. Complete rest. Full rest. The kind of rest that comes when you stop trying and simply allow. Sleep. Deeply. Peacefully. Held by the natural intelligence of your body. The wisdom that knows how to fast. How to feed. How to wake. How to sleep. How to rest completely. Now let's shift our tone slightly. From the experiential and subjective to the more clinical. More measured. More grounded in medical observation and research. Because fasting has been studied, documented, observed in controlled settings. And there are findings. Data. Effects that can be measured and described with scientific precision. Short supervised fasts may temporarily lower blood pressure and blood sugar. This is one of the most consistent findings in fasting research. When people fast under medical supervision, when their vital signs are monitored, when blood work is done before and after, certain changes appear reliably. Blood pressure often drops. Blood sugar decreases. Blood pressure. The force of blood pushing against artery walls. During fasting, multiple mechanisms work to lower this. First, insulin levels drop, and insulin has effects on blood vessels and fluid retention. Lower insulin means less fluid retention, which means less blood volume, which means lower pressure. Second, the body loses some water weight during fasting, particularly in the first day or two. This reduces blood volume directly. Third, the metabolic state of fasting can cause blood vessels to relax slightly, reducing resistance and thereby lowering pressure. For people with high blood pressure, this effect can be significant. Even a short fast of a few days can bring elevated blood pressure down into healthier ranges. This is temporary. Blood pressure typically rises again when regular eating resumes, but it demonstrates that fasting has real, measurable effects on cardiovascular function. Blood sugar follows a similar pattern. Glucose levels drop during fasting. Obviously, no glucose is coming in from food. But beyond the immediate effect, insulin sensitivity tends to improve. Cells become more responsive to insulin, more able to take up glucose when it's available. This is partly because fasting depletes glycogen stores, and cells are primed to replenish those stores when food returns. They're more sensitive, more ready, more responsive. For people with prediabetes or metabolic syndrome, this temporary improvement in insulin sensitivity can be meaningful. It's a reset, a chance for the metabolic system to recalibrate. Again, this doesn't mean fasting cures diabetes or replaces medical treatment. But it does suggest that fasting can have real metabolic effects that, in the right context, might be beneficial. These effects are seen in supervised fasts, meaning medical professionals are monitoring, tracking, ensuring safety. This is important because blood pressure or blood sugar dropping too low can be dangerous, can cause dizziness, fainting, or worse. So these observations come from controlled settings where interventions are available if needed. And another commonly observed effect, gentle weight loss may occur in controlled settings. This is perhaps the most obvious effect of fasting and the reason many people try it. You stop eating, your body uses stored energy, you lose weight. Simple, right? Well, yes and no. Weight loss during fasting is real, measurable, consistent. If you fast for several days, you will lose weight. But much of the initial weight loss is water. Glycogen is stored with water, about 3 or 4 grams of water for every gram of glycogen. When glycogen is depleted during the first day of fasting, all that water is released. You lose several pounds. But it's water, not fat. When you eat again and glycogen stores are replenished, the water comes back. The scale goes back up. Fat loss does occur during fasting, but more slowly. Your body burns perhaps 1/4 to 1/2 pound of actual fat per day during a fast, depending on various factors. So a 3-day fast might result in 1 pound or 2 of actual fat loss, plus several pounds of water loss. The water comes back. The fat doesn't, unless you overeat afterward. And this is where gentle and controlled settings matter. Fasting for weight loss can work, but it's not magic. It's not a shortcut. And if it's not done carefully, if it's not part of a thoughtful overall approach, the weight often comes back. Metabolic adaptation, the slowing of metabolism we discussed, can make maintaining weight loss difficult. Muscle loss during longer fasts can reduce metabolic rate, and psychologically, the restriction of fasting can sometimes lead to overeating afterward, to a pendulum swing back in the other direction. So when research shows gentle weight loss in controlled settings, it means, yes, weight loss happens. But it's modest. It's monitored. It's part of a careful, supervised protocol. It's not dramatic or extreme. It's gentle. And the controlled setting ensures it's done safely, with proper preparation and proper refeeding protocols, with attention to overall health, not just the number on the scale. And beyond blood pressure and blood sugar and weight, broader metabolic effects have been observed. Some clinical case series show improvements in metabolic markers under strict supervision. Case series, meaning collections of individual cases, documented and reported. Not large randomized controlled trials, which are the gold standard of medical evidence, but clinical observations. Patterns noticed by doctors working with patients. These case series report things like improved cholesterol profiles, lower triglycerides, reduced markers of inflammation, improved liver function in people with fatty liver disease, better insulin sensitivity even weeks after the fast ended, subjective reports of increased energy, better mood, clearer thinking. These are hopeful findings. Suggestive. They point toward fasting having potential therapeutic applications beyond just weight loss. They suggest it might help with metabolic dysfunction, with inflammation, with various chronic health issues. But they're preliminary. They're not definitive. They come from supervised settings with carefully selected patients. They can't simply be extrapolated to everyone trying fasting on their own. This is why the phrase "under strict supervision" matters. These positive findings come from contexts where medical professionals are involved, where fasting is done as part of a therapeutic protocol, where there's preparation, monitoring, and careful refeeding, where contraindications are screened for, where people with conditions that might make fasting dangerous are excluded. This isn't casual fasting. This is fasting as medical intervention. And in that context, short planned fasts are sometimes used in monitored medical environments. There are clinics, particularly in Europe and Russia, that use medically supervised fasting as part of treatment protocols for various conditions. These are not alternative medicine fringe operations. These are legitimate medical facilities with doctors and researchers studying and applying fasting in careful, controlled ways. Patients check into these facilities. They're evaluated thoroughly. Blood work is done. Medical history is taken. And then they fast, sometimes for a week or even longer, under constant medical supervision. They're monitored daily. Blood pressure, heart rate, blood sugar all checked regularly. Any concerning symptoms are addressed immediately. And when the fast ends, refeeding is done carefully, gradually, to avoid complications. In these settings, fasting has been used as part of treatment for conditions like hypertension, high blood pressure, type 2 diabetes and metabolic syndrome, autoimmune conditions, chronic pain, digestive disorders, obesity. The results are mixed. Some patients report significant benefit. Others see little change. Some conditions seem more responsive to fasting than others. The research is ongoing, growing, but still limited. Still in relatively early stages for many applications. The key point is, these are planned, monitored, medical fasts. Not people randomly deciding to stop eating for a week at home without preparation or oversight. The medical context provides safety, provides expertise, provides the ability to intervene if something goes wrong. And that context is essential for longer or more intensive fasting protocols. For shorter fasts, the 24 to 72 hours we've been primarily discussing, medical supervision is generally not necessary for healthy individuals. But even then, preparation helps. Education helps. Knowing what to expect, what's normal, what's concerning. Knowing your own health status. Knowing if you have any conditions that might make fasting risky for you specifically. So the clinical observations are valuable. They tell us fasting has real, measurable effects. Effects on blood pressure, on blood sugar, on weight, on various metabolic markers. Effects that, in the right context, can be therapeutic. can be part of healing, can contribute to improved health. But they also remind us, this is serious. This is physiologically significant. This is something that should be approached with respect, with preparation, with knowledge. Not feared necessarily. Not avoided. But respected. Approached intelligently. With eyes open to both potential benefits and potential risks. And as you rest now, as these more clinical facts settle into your awareness, you can appreciate the balance. Fasting has been studied. Has observable effects. Can be used therapeutically under proper conditions. But it's not a cure-all. Not without considerations. Not something to approach carelessly. Like sleep itself. Sleep has been studied extensively. We know it's essential for health. We know deprivation has serious consequences. We know quality and quantity both matter. But we also know sleep needs vary individually. What works for one person doesn't work for another. There are general guidelines, but personal factors matter enormously. Fasting is similar. There's knowledge. There's evidence. There are guidelines. But personal factors matter. Your health. Your history. Your goals. Your individual response. All of this shapes whether fasting is appropriate for you, and if so, how to approach it. So rest in the knowledge. Rest in the understanding that fasting is not mysterious or magic. It's physiology. It's measurable. It's been observed and studied. And it has effects. Real effects. That can be harnessed, in the right context, for benefit. But that also require respect. Require care. Require thoughtfulness. And let that be enough for now. Let the knowledge rest. Let the facts settle. Let the clinical observations sit gently in your awareness as you drift toward sleep, toward rest, toward your own body's nightly fast, as consciousness releases, and deep, restorative, healing sleep begins. Rest. In knowledge. In wisdom. In the measured understanding of what is known and what is yet to be discovered. Sleep, now. Now we need to turn our attention to something less pleasant but equally important. The side effects. The things that can go wrong. The discomforts and complications that can arise during fasting. We'll approach this gently. Calmly. Not to frighten, but to inform. Because knowledge is protection. Understanding is safety. Knowing what might happen helps you recognize it, respond to it, and make wise decisions. Dizziness and fatigue can occur. These are among the most common side effects of fasting, especially in the first day or two. Dizziness. That lightheaded feeling when you stand up too quickly. The sense that the room is tilting or spinning. The momentary disorientation that makes you need to steady yourself. This happens because blood pressure drops during fasting. We discuss this as a potential benefit for people with high blood pressure. But for people with normal or low blood pressure, the drop can cause problems. When you stand up, gravity pulls blood toward your legs. Normally, your cardiovascular system compensates instantly, constricting blood vessels and increasing heart rate to maintain blood flow to your brain. But during fasting, with lower blood pressure and sometimes lower blood volume, this compensation might not happen quickly enough. Blood flow to the brain drops momentarily. And you feel dizzy. This is called orthostatic hypotension. Positional low blood pressure. It's usually harmless but uncomfortable. And it carries risk. If the dizziness is severe, you could faint. You could fall. You could injure yourself. So if you experience significant dizziness during fasting, you need to be careful. Stand up slowly. Give your body time to adjust. Sit down if you feel faint. Don't drive or operate machinery if you're feeling dizzy. And consider whether the fast is appropriate for you. Severe dizziness might be a sign that your body isn't handling the fast well. Fatigue is even more common. Tiredness. Low energy. The feeling that you just don't have much in your tank. This makes sense, you're running on limited fuel. Your body is conserving. Your metabolism has slowed. Of course you feel tired. For some people, this fatigue is mild. A gentle tiredness that's manageable. They can continue their normal activities, perhaps at a slightly slower pace. But for others, fatigue can be significant. Debilitating even. Making it hard to work, to concentrate, to do basic tasks. If fatigue becomes severe, if it's interfering with your ability to function, this is important feedback. Your body is telling you something. Perhaps the fast is too much. Perhaps you need to eat. Perhaps this isn't the right approach for you right now. So dizziness and fatigue are common. Expected. But they exist on a spectrum from mild to severe. And where you fall on that spectrum matters. Mild is usually okay. Severe is a warning sign. Pay attention. Listen to your body. Don't push through symptoms that are telling you to stop. And there are other common discomforts. Mild headaches or brain fog are common at the beginning. Headaches. That dull ache. The pressure behind your eyes or across your forehead. The persistent discomfort that makes it hard to focus or relax. Fasting headaches can have several causes. One is caffeine withdrawal. If you normally drink coffee or tea and you stop during a fast, either because you're avoiding all beverages except water, or just because you're changing your routine, caffeine withdrawal can cause headaches. These typically appear within 12 to 24 hours of your last caffeine intake and can last a few days. They're not dangerous, but they're unpleasant. Another cause is electrolyte imbalance. When you fast, when insulin levels drop, your kidneys release more sodium and water. This can lower sodium levels in your blood. And low sodium can cause headaches. Similarly, other electrolytes, potassium, magnesium, can become imbalanced. And these imbalances can manifest as headaches. A third cause is simply the metabolic transition. Moving from glucose burning to fat burning. Moving from fed to fasted state. This transition isn't always smooth. And during the adjustment period, headaches can occur. They usually resolve once you're fully adapted, once ketosis is established and your body has found its rhythm in the fasted state. Brain fog is related. That mental cloudiness. Difficulty concentrating. Thoughts moving slowly. Feeling like you're thinking through cotton. This is common in the first day or two, before ketones have fully ramped up to feed the brain. Your brain is caught between fuel sources, not enough glucose anymore, not quite enough ketones yet. And in that gap, function can suffer. Thinking feels harder, slower, less clear. For most people, this passes. As ketone production increases, as the brain adapts to running on this alternative fuel, clarity returns. Often even improves beyond baseline, as we discussed. But the transition period can be foggy. And if you have important mental work to do, if you need to be sharp and focused, the beginning of a fast might not be the best time. Again, these symptoms, headaches, brain fog, are usually mild and temporary. But they can be significant for some people. And they're worth knowing about so you can plan accordingly. Maybe don't start a fast right before an important exam or presentation. Maybe have pain relievers available if headaches are likely. Maybe include a small amount of salt in your water to help with electrolyte balance. Preparation helps. But some side effects are more serious, more potentially dangerous. Electrolyte drops may affect the heart and nervous system. Electrolytes, sodium, potassium, magnesium, calcium, are minerals that carry electrical charges in your body. They're essential for nerve function, for muscle contraction, for heart rhythm, for countless cellular processes. During fasting, electrolyte balance can be disrupted. Sodium drops because kidneys excrete more. Potassium can drop if your diet before the fast was low in it. Magnesium can become depleted. And when electrolytes drop too low, serious problems can occur. The heart is particularly sensitive. Cardiac rhythm depends on precise electrolyte balance. Potassium especially. If potassium drops too low, heart arrhythmias can develop. Irregular heartbeats. Sometimes dangerous ones. People have developed serious cardiac issues during prolonged fasting because of electrolyte imbalances. The nervous system is also affected. Muscles require electrolytes to contract properly. Severe imbalances can cause muscle weakness, cramping, even paralysis in extreme cases. Nerves require electrolytes to transmit signals. Imbalances can cause numbness, tingling, altered sensations. This is why longer fasts, and fasts in people with certain medical conditions, should be medically supervised. Because electrolytes need to be monitored. Blood work needs to be done. And if levels drop dangerously, they need to be corrected. Either by ending the fast or by supplementing specific electrolytes under medical guidance. For short fasts in healthy people, severe electrolyte problems are rare. Your body has reserves. Regulatory mechanisms. For a few days, you're probably okay. But it's still a consideration. Still something to be aware of. If you experience heart palpitations, severe muscle cramps, unusual weakness, or other concerning symptoms during a fast, these could be signs of electrolyte problems. And they warrant stopping the fast and seeking medical attention. And there's another sensitivity that can develop. Sensitivity to caffeine and stimulants can increase. During fasting, your body becomes more sensitive to various substances. The usual buffering effect of food in your digestive system is absent. Absorption can be faster. Effects can be more intense. Caffeine, which many people use daily without much thought, can hit much harder during a fast. That cup of coffee that normally just wakes you up a bit might make you jittery, anxious, with racing heart during a fast. The stimulant effect is amplified. Your nervous system is already in a somewhat elevated state from the metabolic changes of fasting. Adding a stimulant on top of that can push you into uncomfortable territory. Some people find they need to reduce their caffeine intake during fasting, or eliminate it entirely. Others can tolerate it but need to be more mindful of quantity and timing. Late-day caffeine that normally wouldn't affect sleep might make sleep impossible during a fast. Other stimulants, certain medications, energy drinks, supplements, can also have amplified effects. If you take any medications regularly, this is worth considering. The same dose might hit differently during a fast. Might be too much. Might cause side effects you don't normally experience. This is another reason to consult with a healthcare provider before fasting, especially if you're on medications. So side effects happen. They're real. They range from mild annoyances like headaches and fatigue to potentially serious issues like electrolyte imbalances and cardiac effects. This doesn't mean fasting is inherently dangerous. Most people tolerate short fasts without serious problems. But it does mean you need to be informed. Need to pay attention. Need to take symptoms seriously and respond appropriately. And as you rest now, you can appreciate that your body has limits, has vulnerabilities. And that's okay. That's not weakness. That's reality. You don't have to push through every discomfort. Don't have to ignore warning signs. You can listen, can respond, can make choices that honor your body's signals. And that's wisdom. That's self-care. That's approaching fasting, or any practice, with intelligence and compassion. Rest in that wisdom. Rest in the knowledge that side effects, while possible, are also informative. They teach you about your body, about your limits, about what works and what doesn't. And that information is valuable, is part of the learning, part of the process of understanding yourself more deeply. Sleep now. Let these cautions settle, not as fears, but as knowledge, as preparation, as the wisdom that helps you make good choices and stay safe. Now we need to be very clear, very direct. Because while fasting can be safe for some people in some contexts, it's not safe for everyone. Not appropriate for everyone. And there are specific populations, specific conditions, where fasting is contraindicated, where it should not be done, or at minimum, should only be done under close medical supervision. This is serious. This is important. So let's be calm but unambiguous. People with diabetes, heart disease, or eating disorders are usually advised to avoid unsupervised fasting. Let's take each of these separately. Diabetes. If you have diabetes, particularly type 1 diabetes, fasting can be dangerous. Type 1 diabetics don't produce insulin naturally. They require external insulin to manage blood sugar. Fasting dramatically lowers blood sugar and changes insulin needs. If insulin dosing isn't adjusted perfectly, and getting it right is very difficult during fasting, blood sugar can drop dangerously low. Hypoglycemia. This can cause confusion, loss of consciousness, seizures, even death. Type 2 diabetics also face risks. Many take medications that lower blood sugar. During fasting, when blood sugar is already dropping naturally, these medications can cause it to drop too far. Again, dangerous hypoglycemia. Dosing would need to be carefully adjusted, which requires medical oversight. Additionally, diabetics are already at risk for electrolyte imbalances and cardiac issues. Fasting can exacerbate these risks, can push an already vulnerable system into crisis. So diabetes, especially type 1 but also type 2, is a strong contraindication for unsupervised fasting. If a diabetic wants to fast, it must be under close medical supervision with careful monitoring and medication adjustment. Heart disease. If you have heart disease, a history of heart attack, angina, heart failure, arrhythmias, fasting carries serious risks. The electrolyte changes we discussed can trigger dangerous heart rhythms. The stress of fasting on the cardiovascular system, while mild in healthy people, might be too much for a damaged heart. Blood pressure changes can be problematic. And the body's increased reliance on stored fat means more free fatty acids in the bloodstream, which can affect cardiac function. People with heart disease should not fast without medical supervision. Period. The risks are too significant. Even if you feel fine, even if you think your heart is stable, the metabolic stress of fasting could trigger a cardiac event. This isn't theoretical. This has happened. People with heart disease have had serious complications during fasting. So please, if you have any heart condition, do not fast without consulting your cardiologist and having medical monitoring in place. Eating disorders. This is perhaps the most important contraindication. If you have a history of anorexia, bulimia, binge eating disorder, or any pattern of disordered eating, fasting is dangerous. Not primarily for physical reasons, though those matter, but for psychological reasons. Fasting can be a gateway to relapse, can trigger the restrictive patterns of anorexia, can feed into the control and punishment dynamics of eating disorders, can become a legitimate way to continue restricting food when you're supposed to be recovered. The line between health-focused fasting and eating disorder behavior can be very thin. And for someone vulnerable, for someone with a history of problematic relationships with food and eating, that line is easy to cross. Even if you feel recovered, even if you've been stable for years, fasting can be triggering. Can bring back old thoughts, old patterns, old dangerous behaviors. So if you have any history of eating disorders, please do not fast. Find other ways to pursue health. Other practices that don't involve food restriction. Work with therapists and dietitians who understand eating disorders. Protect your recovery. It's too precious to risk. And beyond these specific conditions, there are entire populations for whom fasting is generally not appropriate. Experts caution it is not suitable for children or pregnant women without specialist oversight. Children. Growing children have different nutritional needs than adults. They need consistent energy and nutrients to support growth and development. Their brains are still developing. Their bodies are building bone and muscle and organ tissue. Depriving them of food, even temporarily, can interfere with these critical processes. Additionally, children don't have the same metabolic reserves as adults. They don't have as much stored fat. They can't sustain fasting as long without depleting essential resources. And they're more vulnerable to hypoglycemia, to electrolyte imbalances, to the various stressors of fasting. So children should not fast for health or weight loss purposes. The risks outweigh any potential benefits. If there's a medical reason, a specific therapeutic application, it should only be done under specialist medical supervision. Otherwise, children should eat regularly, balanced meals that support their growth and development. Pregnant women. Pregnancy is a time of increased nutritional needs. The developing fetus requires constant nutrients, consistent energy, C vitamins and minerals. Fasting during pregnancy can deprive the baby of what it needs, can trigger metabolic changes that might harm fetal development. Some research suggests fasting during pregnancy can lead to lower birth weight, developmental issues, even increased risk of chronic diseases later in the child's life. The data isn't definitive, but the potential risks are serious enough that medical consensus is clear: pregnant women should not fast. They should eat regularly, nutritiously, to support both their own health and their baby's development. If there are cultural or religious fasting practices that pregnant women normally participate in, they should discuss with their obstetrician whether it's safe to continue during pregnancy. Often, religious traditions include exemptions for pregnant women precisely because the risks are recognized. Honor those exemptions. Protect yourself and your baby. And beyond these specific populations, there's a general principle. Anyone considering more than a very short fast should seek medical supervision. Very short, we're talking 24 hours, maybe 48. These durations can generally be done safely by healthy adults without medical oversight. Though even then, consultation with a healthcare provider can be helpful, especially if you have any health concerns or take any medications. But beyond 48 hours? Beyond a couple of days? Medical supervision becomes important. Because risks increase with duration. Electrolyte imbalances become more likely. Muscle breakdown becomes more significant. Metabolic complications can develop. And having medical monitoring, blood work, vital sign checks, professional assessment provides safety. Provides the ability to catch problems early and intervene before they become serious. This is especially true for fasts of a week or more. These should only be done in medical facilities or under very close medical supervision. The risks are simply too significant for unsupervised extended fasting. People have died from complications of prolonged fasting done without proper medical support. This is rare, but it happens. And it's preventable through appropriate supervision. So the message here is clear. Fasting is not for everyone. If you have diabetes, heart disease, or eating disorders, don't fast without medical supervision. If you're a child or pregnant, don't fast at all unless under specialist oversight. And if you're considering a longer fast, seek medical supervision regardless of your health status. These aren't suggestions. These are safety imperatives. Please take them seriously. And as you lie here now, these warnings ringing in your ears, don't let them create fear. Let them create wisdom, discernment, the ability to make good decisions, to know when something is appropriate and when it's not, to recognize your own vulnerabilities and limitations, and to seek help when you need it. This is strength. This is wisdom. Knowing when to proceed and when to stop. Knowing when you need support and asking for it. Knowing that some practices aren't meant for you, and that's okay. That's not failure. That's self-knowledge. That's self-care. So rest in that wisdom. Rest in the clarity of knowing what's safe and what's not. Rest in the ability to make choices that honor your body, your health, your unique situation. And sleep, knowing that wisdom is protective, is powerful, is exactly what you need to stay safe, to stay well, to stay at peace. And now, as we come to the end of our journey through water fasting, let's talk about endings. About how fasts conclude. About the return to eating. And about alternatives. Other paths. Other ways to pursue health and renewal that might be gentler, more sustainable, more appropriate for your particular life and body. Reintroducing food slowly with small, simple meals helps avoid discomfort. Breaking a fast. This is crucial. How you end a fast matters as much as how you begin it. Your digestive system has been resting. Your stomach has been empty. Your intestines quiet. Your enzymes dormant. And suddenly introducing large amounts of food, especially heavy, complex foods, can overwhelm the system. After a fast of more than a day or two, the first meal should be small. Very small. Maybe just a piece of fruit. Or some cooked vegetables. Or a small portion of simple carbohydrates like rice. Something gentle. Easy to digest. Not a large meal. Not heavy proteins or fats. Not processed foods or spicy dishes. Just simple. Light. Kind. And then wait. See how your body responds. If all goes well, after a few hours, have another small meal. Again, simple. Gradually reintroducing foods. Gradually increasing quantity. Over the course of a day or two, working back up to normal-sized meals and more complex foods. This gradual approach allows your digestive system to wake up slowly. To start producing enzymes again. To restore peristalsis. To rebuild the digestive capacity that's been dormant. Rushing this process, eating a huge meal immediately after a fast, can cause problems. Can make you feel terrible. Can even be dangerous in extreme cases. Careful refeeding reduces bloating and digestive shock. Refeeding syndrome. This is a real medical condition that can occur when someone who's been fasting or starving for an extended period suddenly eats a large amount of food. The rapid influx of nutrients causes dramatic shifts in electrolytes, particularly phosphate, which can drop dangerously low. This can cause cardiac problems, neurological issues, even death in severe cases. Refeeding syndrome is rare with short fasts. It's primarily a concern with very prolonged fasting or severe starvation. But milder versions, bloating, cramping, nausea, diarrhea, can occur even after moderate fasts if refeeding is done carelessly. Your intestines aren't ready for a large volume of food. Your stomach might cramp. Gas might form as bacteria suddenly have substrate to ferment. You might feel sick, uncomfortable, regretful. So be gentle with yourself. With your body. It's been working hard during the fast, adapting, conserving, maintaining function despite scarcity. Don't shock it with sudden abundance. Ease back into eating. Slowly. Kindly. With small portions of simple foods. Let your digestive system remember how to do its job. And it will. It will wake up. Will restore. Will return to normal function. Just give it time. Give it gentleness. And as you think about all of this, the process of fasting, the side effects, the risks, the cautions, the careful refeeding, you might wonder, is it worth it? Is all of this complexity and risk worth whatever benefits fasting might offer? And for some people, the answer is yes. For others, no. And for many, there's a middle path. Many choose intermittent fasting or modest calorie reduction instead. Intermittent fasting. This has become very popular. And it's quite different from multi-day water fasting. Intermittent fasting typically involves eating within a restricted time window each day. Maybe 8 hours of eating, 16 hours of fasting. Or 6 hours eating, 18 fasting. Or even one meal a day. This is much more sustainable than extended fasting. You fast every day, but only for part of the day. You still eat every day. You still get nutrition. But you also get some of the metabolic benefits of fasting. Insulin levels drop during the fasting window, some autophagy is triggered, fat burning increases. Without the severe stress of multi-day food deprivation. Many people find this approach easier. More livable. They skip breakfast, eat lunch and dinner within an 8-hour window, and fast from evening until lunch the next day. Or they skip dinner, eating only during daylight hours. The variations are numerous. The key is regular daily fasting periods, but still regular daily eating. Research suggests intermittent fasting can provide many of the same benefits as longer fasts, improved insulin sensitivity, some weight loss, metabolic improvements, without the same risks or discomfort. It's a gentler approach. More moderate. More sustainable for long-term practice. Or calorie reduction. Not fasting. Not eliminating food entirely. Just eating less. Consuming fewer calories than you burn, consistently, gradually. This is the tried and true approach to weight loss and metabolic health. It's not dramatic. Not exciting. But it works. It's safe. It's sustainable. And it doesn't carry the same risks as fasting. Modest calorie reduction, say, eating 80 to 90% of what you normally would, can produce gradual weight loss, can improve metabolic markers, can reduce inflammation. It doesn't trigger the extreme metabolic shifts of fasting. But it also doesn't stress the body as much. Doesn't risk electrolyte imbalances or severe fatigue. Doesn't require careful refeeding protocols. For many people, this is the better choice. The wiser path. Not as trendy as fasting. Not as talked about. but effective and safer and easier to maintain long term. And there's another option that's gained attention recently. Time-restricted eating can offer similar benefits with fewer risks. Time-restricted eating is similar to intermittent fasting but often with slightly shorter fasting windows. Maybe 12 hours eating, 12 hours fasting. Which is actually close to how humans ate for most of history, eating during daylight, not eating at night. Research suggests that even this modest time restriction, just not eating for 12 hours overnight, can have benefits. Can improve sleep quality. Can improve metabolic health. Can support circadian rhythms. Without the stress of longer fasting periods. Without skipping meals entirely. This might be the gentlest approach of all. Just stop eating after dinner. Don't snack in the evening. Sleep through the night without eating. And don't have breakfast until 12 hours after your last meal. That's it. Simple. Sustainable. Aligned with natural circadian rhythms. And potentially beneficial without significant risk. So there are options. Paths, different approaches to health that don't require multi-day water fasting. And for many people, these gentler approaches are wiser, more appropriate, more sustainable, more aligned with long-term health than intense, periodic fasting. And sometimes, the gentlest approach is best of all. Gentle habits, hydration, balanced meals, regular sleep, often provide a calmer reset than intense fasting. Think about it. What if instead of fasting dramatically, you just drank more water, stayed well hydrated, all day, every day? Simple, free, universally beneficial. 8 balanced meals. Not too much, not too little. A variety of whole foods, vegetables and fruits and whole grains and healthy proteins and fats. Nothing extreme. Nothing eliminated. Just balanced. Nourishing. Got regular sleep. 7 to 9 hours. Consistent schedule. Good sleep hygiene. This alone, quality sleep, does so much for metabolism, for appetite regulation, for energy, for mood, for health overall. These habits aren't flashy, aren't trendy, won't generate dramatic before and after photos. But they work. They're sustainable. They're safe. They support health without risk. They're the foundation. The basics. And often, the basics are exactly what we need. A calmer reset. Not a dramatic intervention. Not a shocking change. But a gentle return to what works. To what sustains. To what nourishes without stress. To what supports without demanding. Maybe that's the real wisdom here. Not that fasting is good or bad. Not that you should or shouldn't do it. But that health is individual. Personal. What works for one person doesn't work for another. And the gentlest path, the path that supports you without stressing you, that path is often the wisest choice. So as we end this long journey through water fasting, as you prepare to let it all go and drift into sleep, take this with you: you have choices. You have options. You can fast if it's appropriate for you. You can do intermittent fasting if that works better. You can simply eat a bit less, a bit better. You can focus on time-restricted eating. Or you can just commit to the gentle basics: hydration, balance, sleep. Whatever you choose, do it consciously. thoughtfully, with knowledge of both benefits and risks, with honesty about your own health, your own history, your own needs, with willingness to adjust if something isn't working, with compassion for yourself through the process. This is wisdom. This is health. Not following a trend blindly. Not forcing yourself into something that doesn't fit, but choosing consciously, adjusting as needed, and always prioritizing genuine well-being over any particular method or approach. And now, let it all go. Let all these facts and cautions and options and possibilities just dissolve. Like morning mist in sunlight. Like thoughts fading at the edge of sleep. You've learned. You've absorbed. You've considered. And that's enough. More than enough. Now it's time to rest. To sleep. To let your body do its nightly work without your conscious direction. To trust the intelligence that keeps you breathing, keeps your heart beating, keeps your cells renewing. To surrender into sleep's embrace. Complete. Total. Deep. You are safe. You are held. You are exactly where you need to be. And sleep is waiting, patiently, peacefully, to receive you into its gentle, timeless, restorative depths. Rest now. Completely. Let every muscle soften. Let every thought fade. Let every concern dissolve. And sleep, deeply, peacefully, held by the ancient wisdom of rest, of renewal, of the body knowing exactly what it needs and how to provide it. Sleep. Sweet sleep. Deep sleep. Peaceful sleep. The kind of sleep that heals, restores, renews, and prepares you for whatever comes tomorrow. But tomorrow is far away. Infinitely far. All that exists is now. This moment. This breath. This gentle descent into sleep, into peace, into the quiet, dark, restful ocean of consciousness, letting go and being held completely. Sleep now. Just sleep. Nothing more needed. Nothing more required. Just this. Just rest. Just peace. Good night. Sleep well. And may your rest be deep, complete, and perfectly restorative.